What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of B is for Build. In today's episode, we're taking delivery of our tube frame chassis kit. We're going to go ahead and get the actual shell of the car into the right spot in the shop, and we're going to get our parts, our front and our rear suspension components, and those two massive things in line so it goes shell, parts, frame construction. We're getting things organized. Stay tuned. If you remember where we left off yesterday, we have our rear subframe detached from the shell, but it's still trapped underneath it because we can't get the shell up high enough to snake the rear subframe out. So the first thing I'm going to be doing today is trying to solve that problem, along with solving the problem of how are we going to move that shell around the shop to get it to the other side of the shop after we get it off of the lift. So I'm here at Home Depot. I'm going to search around for ideas and supplies, grab some, and then we'll get to the shop. Cinder blocks, that's right. Having trouble moving heavy things? Buy a couple more 100 pounds of rocks. That'll help. Back in the shop, and the first thing that we got to do if we're going to get this shell to move around the shop is going to be to get that rear subframe out of there. So my thought on that is that if we go ahead and jack up the rear diff a little bit, that'll take the pressure off the wheels. Then I could take the wheels off, lower back down a little bit more, and then I could take the struts off as well. And once I take the struts and the wheels off, my hope is that it will sit down low enough that we can slide it out the back. So I'm going to do that now and we'll see if it works. I got that rear subframe out, finally. So if you haven't seen a rear subframe before, you don't know really like what the suspension is made up of in the back of a car, because people see it in the front of a car a lot. Here's what it looks like in the back of the car. This is a rear subframe. It's kind of like a cradle that holds the rear differential and the two, kind of wheel assemblies for the rear wheels. So you have all your control arms and other dealies here that let this thing actuate up and down. Your axle that shoots to your differential. This is your rear differential, and the diff, this is an electronically controlled diff. It'll decide whether or not it's going to go to one wheel at one time or to both at the same time, and it's got some other smarts inside it too. And then the traction control can also tap the brakes and do fancy stuff for you too. Your brakes attached to your rotors over here, which is like the brake caliper, which also attaches to the knuckle, and the knuckle through control arms and whatnot attaches to your subframe. So that's where you get all that stuff from. It's pretty awesome. I lifted one side of it, and just a real rough estimate, by lifting up one side of it, it really wasn't that hard to lift half of this thing. So I'd say it probably weighs between 400 and 600 pounds. That's a real rough estimate, but it's not that heavy. It's really not that heavy for what it does, for what it gives us. And if you think about that, you come over here. If our engine was very heavy, our engine and trans was very heavy and weighed even 1,200 pounds, and we just said round that to 500, that puts us at 1,700 for engine and engine, transmission, drive shaft, and rear subframe. So if we were to bolt all this stuff up together, then the only other weight that you have is the frame. So add in the frame. Say the frame is like, it's right outside. I got to go lift it in a minute. I don't know, if the frame was 500 pounds, what were we at there? 1,700 plus 5, 2,200 to build an M5 go-kart. And then we got to add a fuel tank and some other stuff, but it's looking pretty good. I'm thinking we're going to be pretty safe at coming in under the 3,500 pound mark that I really wanted to come in at. So this is awesome. Now we got that. That's nice over there. That's kind of tucked away for the time being. We're going to have to figure out something to do with this and get this out of the way a little bit more. That way we can start to lower this thing down onto its cinder blocks and move it around. We really got to start organizing this shop if we're going to fit everything in it. We got all the main components over here now. So rear subframe, front subframe, and suspension components. And then the engine, we broke that out separately. I'm gonna have to get underneath the engine to redo the rod bearings anyway, so I figured might as well separate those two things out, give myself a little bit more space. So that's kind of all arranged on that side of the shop. And now I'm gonna try and get the car down onto the rollers and then roll it sideways over to where all these parts are here. And then these parts will go back that way, I think. I'm not really sure. But getting the car down is gonna be really tricky. It's definitely not meant to be done like this, so I'm gonna have to figure it out. This whole thing folds backwards that way, so I can't put a cinder block quite under there, but I can get one in underneath there. And then on the back, I think I have just enough room to get one on the back. So the idea is to put the cinder blocks underneath the body of this shell and hopefully get them to land on the rollers. All right, we're on blocks. Sadly, not the first time one of my cars has been on blocks, but I managed to nail a couple spots right down there and then a couple spots in the back too. And the quick jack can still fit in and out of there if we need to raise it up anymore to get underneath, and you know, when it's time to pull the fuel tanks out or whatever else we need to do in this crazy thing. I don't really know, but the spot for it is gonna be over here in front of the door. So the day that we're ready to get rid of it, I'm hoping that I can, well, I probably could just actually chain it up with the FJ and pull it out, and then whoever's gonna take delivery of it, or whatever the opposite of delivery is, acceptance of it, could maybe forklift it into their own vehicle or something like that. That's my thought. There's a guy that owns a parting out company around here where I got those Aston Martin brake calipers from, and I was thinking I haven't hit him up yet, but he might be interested in this shell. So I don't know the future for this shell, but I know that I need to have it around for the entirety of the build to pick every little thing off, because it's the worst thing I've ever had happen with these builds is when you get rid of the donor car, you get rid of this great resource of parts, and then you need to order like one stupid clip like this right here, and it ends up costing you $20 and you have to wait a week. That is the worst feeling in the world, so I wouldn't advise that. So now the fun part is I have to try and roll this and maneuver it right over here to get out of the way of everything else. We've done it! Car on this side of the shop. The cinder block shifted a little bit, which got me really worried. I will say, pushing that thing around, it's the lightest thing we've pushed around in the shop as far as car size. So it's definitely not still like the weight of the RX-7. It's not that heavy, but it's still heavy. So that's just something I noticed. And this is what a lot of a car looks like without a body. It's pretty, this is pretty cool to have all out. So, you know, other parts of a car that you would normally have is the cooling system that we have like kind of sitting over there. And then you would have a fuel system, like a fuel tank with a pump pushing fuel up to the engine and back. I mean, other than that, you need a steering wheel, but this is a pretty comprehensive breakdown of an entire vehicle right here. So that's really cool. And this should give you a picture of what we're trying to build as far as the M5 go-kart. It really is kind of rails that connect this piece to that piece back there. Rail that goes down, holds the engine in the middle, and then, you know, two seats, and it's just a rocket ship. It's just two seats bolted to a giant V10 engine. I mean, that's really what I'm trying to build here. So that's pretty cool. Now the thing that goes right here in the middle of the shop, which probably isn't a great idea because it has a crack, but we'll figure that out when we get there, is the frame. So let me go drag it on in here. I hope none of the parts are too heavy to lift, but yeah, let me bring the frame in. Well, that wasn't really too heavy at all. We're gonna have one lightweight car, I can tell you that much. This is our Jegs tube frame chassis kit. So those are our main frame rails that we're gonna match up with those two subframes over there. These are the rear frame rails that go up and over that bad boy right there. These are our hoops for our roll cage, and in here is all the other crazy supporting parts. And I'll be opening those up tomorrow. All right, guys, that's what I'm gonna call this one. I had a late night here in the shop struggling with that rear subframe last night, so I'm gonna cut it a little bit short tonight. Tomorrow we'll be right back in. We're gonna unbox that chassis kit and start assembling things, and hopefully start doing some tack welds and some other stuff like that. Should be a lot of fun. Also, Chelsea's out of town, and you know what that means. Me and Adrian are going to the strip. No, we're just we're going to trivia. We're going to trivia, and without Chelsea, we are guaranteed to lose. So that should be really exciting. I'll bring you guys along. Best comment down below of a team name for two guys that are about to get embarrassed by their lack of knowledge in trivia. We will name our team that. And that should be a lot of fun. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for that. Thank you so much for watching tonight. If you want to help out and support, there's just a few of these hoodies left. Head over to our shop at bsforbuild.com and snag one of those. There's a lot more shirts than hoodies left over. You guys, it can't be cold all over the world. And we do ship all over the world. So if you're in Malaysia and it's summer there, is it summer in Malaysia? Anyways, if you're in Australia, it's summer, and you want to get a shirt, you know where to go. MightyCarMods.com. No, I'm kidding. Go to bsforbuild.com. Get some merch. Support this build. And if you want to follow us in more places, head over to Instagram and find us BSForBuild on there, or Facebook, whatever your favorite social network is. And that's about it, guys. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace! Come on.